All right, enough about the framework questions. During this module, I'd like to talk about the second, third, and fourth keys. The second key, assessment and measurement, is extremely important. As you have been told many times, what gets measured gets improved. I will need here to make a distinction between assessments and measurements, because organizations often use both, but they don't necessarily use them appropriately and at the right time. An assessment is the collection of data, events, perceptions, and the results of performance that is often done at the beginning or end of a process, and the evaluation of the data collected. Measurement, on the other hand, refers to the ongoing, recurring quantification of how well something is being accomplished. Examples of assessments include evaluations of management style, teamwork, organizational culture, market penetration, organizational strengths and weaknesses, comparisons of organizational processes with benchmarking data, and so on. As you can see in this particular example of an organization that I worked with, organization of work is the area of most concern to this particular group, and we did some team building with them in regards to this particular area of concern. Examples of measurements include things like goal attainment, financial performance, customer satisfaction, internal efficiency, and organizational and individual development, also known as the balanced scorecard, which we have often talked about in the past. The point to remember is this: to realize that both must be done. Organizations often conduct assessments but don't really evaluate if their measurement system is a good one. For example, they may assess the teamwork within a particular work group but don't reward teamwork on an ongoing basis. Assessment is not a substitute for ongoing measurement. Measurement alone is insufficient without evaluation and action to improve the measures of success. The third key is teamwork. Let me give you a couple of definitions of teamwork here. A more formal definition: it's a coordination of people, systems, and other resources in pursuit of a common goal. And a more practical one: the day-to-day activities that people do in working together. And a more practical one: the day-to-day activities people do to work together. In organizational change, teams may be formed to implement organizational change, run the business on a day-to-day basis, or solve technical issues. And to build these particular teams, organizations often don't use the right set of techniques, because what technique is best depends upon the extent and severity of the teamwork problems in organizations. If teamwork issues are only arising among a few teams, role clarification, goal clarification, or problem solving may be sufficient. However, if the teamwork issues are arising across the company, different techniques must be used. Significant process change, restructuring, tying pay to group and organizational performance may very well be necessary. The fourth key is training and learning. Of all the keys, this is the one most affected by technology and new methods of delivery, as for example, distance learning via the internet and satellite, just like what we've been doing here. The interesting part about it is that the technology may have changed, but people have not, and you still have to use a variety of methods and various sequences and a variety of technologies to fully get the point across and help people really learn. Common problems in developing and delivering training include the following: sufficient needs analysis hasn't been done, the curriculum isn't sequenced properly, standards are normative rather than competence-based, and course logistics don't conform to good training practices. In regards to need analysis, training is often used for non-training problems. Specific learning outcomes are not defined, and the training needed for job performance is not the training that's delivered. It's much too generic and much too broad. The curricular sequence may not be as good as it could be because there's insufficient understanding of entry behaviors. That is, management has not determined what people know when they first come to the classroom. The curriculum may not build into a sequence, but instead it's a scattered bunch of fragmentary activities that don't form a coherent whole. Oftentimes, training is normative rather than standards-based, so that the competence is defined as an average rather than as an aim for all students to achieve sufficient mastery to accomplish their job tasks. In regards to course logistics, good training may be developed, good people may be learning. Unfortunately, though, course logistics may be lacking. Oftentimes, organizations use what's called mass training. That is, they take large numbers of people, provide them with very superficial kind of training in such a way that it's a long time between when they receive the training and they use the training. As a result, people forget what they've learned in the classroom. Compare this to what's called the just-in-time training method. The just-in-time training method is where selected students go through very specific kinds of training, and this is done before, just before, the actual implementation and use. So, for example, let's say that you have the implementation of Six Sigma, or Total Quality Management. Instead of training everyone in statistical techniques, it would be more appropriate and, frankly, better for the people involved for a project to be selected, the people assigned to the project, they receive the training that they need, and they go on and use that particular training. When another project comes along, then all they have to do is select that team, have them go through the training in a just-in-time sense, and then work on their project. This should be done instead of training everyone in statistical techniques, then expecting them to remembering and using it 6 months, 8 months, even a year later. It really is a recipe for poor retention if one uses the mass training kind of approach. In summary, these 4 keys, that is, the framework questions, assessment and measurement, teamwork, and training and learning, need to be used together and in unison for a successful organizational change to occur. Please also realize that for the most part, no one ever gets this right the first time. But it's very important to keep on trying and keep on improving what you do. And if you use these particular techniques, if you use this framework in terms of making implementation of organizational change happen, you will have a much higher chance of successfully achieving the outcomes that you desire and for your organization to be successful in whatever particular future comes about. Thank you very much.